the Commander-in-Chief and the President of the Economic Freedom Fighters. Comrade President.
Amandla, Amandla, Viva EFF, Viva, Tata EFF, Tata, Aikule EFF, Aikule, Aikule EFF, Aikule, down with white monopoly capital, down, down with white monopoly capital, down, down with Johan Rupert, down, down with Johan Rupert, down, down with the Oppenheimers, down, down with the Oppenheimers, down, down with the land thieves, down. Amandla, Amandla, Viva EFF, Viva. Sabonga, thank you very much. Our national chairperson, members of the Central Command Team, the PCT, and all RCTs who are here, and the hosting region. And we also want to salute our ground forces. We are very happy that you mobilized our people to come and mark this day as a land day. More than 300 years ago, they arrived here and they took our land. They killed our forefathers, they raped our mothers, they stole the cattle, and now they've settled here. And they call this place their place. But deep down they know that they've stolen from us. And whether it is these ones who are living now or not, as long as you are in possession of stolen goods, you are a criminal. Because they inherited this land. And anyone who says they bought this land, they bought the money that was coming from the proceeds of crime. They bought it from the money that came from the exploitation of black people. And Johan Rupert and his family and the Oppenheimers and many of these rich white families in South Africa, they are the face of the land criminal that was committed in this country. That's why we are here to say to Rupert, your riches come out of stealing from black people. Your riches come from the exploitation of black people. So our people work in the wine farms and you don't pay them anything. Instead, you pay them with bottles of wine and alcohol because you have no regard for black people and black dignity. So you are not rich because you are smarter than us. You are rich because your forefathers committed a black genocide and stole our cattle and killed our leaders and took everything that belongs to us. The sea belongs to us. The minerals of this country belongs to us. And we demand that all of those things must be returned into the hands of the rightful owners. We are here today to confront white monopoly capital, that we as the EFF, we exist everywhere, and even here in Stellenbosch, we exist. And when the program of land expropriation starts, it will also start here in Stellenbosch and will reclaim our land. You must be ashamed that our people live in squalor, in Kayamnandi, and you stay in wine farms, wine estate in the suburbs, the only black township. There is no any other settlement for black people, for indigenous people, for the rightful owners of this Stellenbosch. They don't have any other place. They are squatting in Kayamnandi. You don't give them even a smallest piece of land so that they too can live comfortably like you. Now they are there, they are isolated. When you sell farms, you sell to each other. When a black person buys a farm, you refuse. If it's not a white person, you stop the transaction. We want the farms to be given to black people. You've got enough land, Rupert. Start releasing some of it voluntarily now, before the land revolution visits you. All those white people who have a lot of land, lot of properties, lot of wealth, please start sharing it with the people of South Africa, because they are losing their patience. This youth is here today during working hours in their numbers because they are not working and because they've got no land to work on. Our poverty is because of lack of ownership of land. That's why I always argue with South Africans that you are beating a Zimbabwean. That is not cause of your problem. He doesn't own the land. Your problem starts because you don't own the land. You must go to those who own the land. When you get the land, your problems are solved. Because their problems were solved when they came here, 6 April 1652, led by a gangster, a convicted criminal, Jan van Riebeck. They arrived here and stole our land. These are children of criminals. Jan van Riebeck was brought here as part of his punishment. He didn't come here because he was a good tourist who spotted a beautiful land. He's a thug, even where he comes from. He's a criminal. That's why he continued with his criminal activities by stealing our land and our cattle when they arrived here. So we want to make it a point that fighters, we remind them every year on the 6th of April that they must never forget that they are in possession of proceeds of crime, and that makes them criminals, and they must be reminded annually to return that which belongs to us. For as long as they have our land in their possession, we will never be friends. We are not Nelson Mandela of reconciliation. How can you reconcile with a person you have never been with before? We have to be together first and then go apart to come and reconcile. How can we reconcile when we have never been one? And we will never be one. What is the cause of the problem? You are in possession of stolen goods. How do I find a person who stole my car and say to this person, let's reconcile, but he's still keeping the car? I bring my car first. We will talk if I'm forgiving you or not. For as long as you are in possession of my stolen vehicle, we will never be friends. That's what makes us not to be friends. We coexist because we are children of peaceful warriors. We do not enjoy blood, but we are not scared of blood. The only thing we're scared of is of being defeated. When we fight to win. We don't want to lose. And when that day comes, we will emerge victorious. The reason we are not declaring war is not because we are cowards. We want a peaceful settlement of the land. Why? We are not our grandfathers and grandmothers. That treatment you gave to our grandparents, you will never give it to us. We know who we are. We know what we stand for. We know what we represent. And we represent the future. And that future is the land. There is no future in South Africa without the ownership of the land by the people of South Africa. Indigenous people of South Africa. Stop this thing of saying, no, it was the Khoi and we were all here. Where? In Africa. Yes. Africa, it's one. We are one thing. Don't say, yeah, there was this one or that one before. We were all here because we are the Khoi, and the Khoi is us. Why do you want to divide us and make us as if we are two different nations? We are not from Europe. The Khoi are not from Europe. You are from Europe. That's why we always remind you that don't be too comfortable. You are on a stolen land, and this land we demand it back. How can the rightful owners, so many years in Stellenbosch, we only have Kayamnandi? Only now the EFF has now occupied the land and called it Azania. We want more of such occupation so that we take our land and allow our people to stay, but also to farm. We need to start working the land. We don't want the land to settle only. We want commercial land to own properties. We want commercial land to own the wine farms. We don't want a rotten land. We want a fertile land, because in any way we are the ones who are working this land now. There is no white man who works the land. They exploit our people. We are not lazy. Stop asking us, what are you going to do when you get the land? It's none of your business. It's our land. We will decide what we do with it. You found us here working the land. Yes. When you came here, you did not come with a cattle. There is no cattle here which they say this cattle is originally from Netherlands. There's no such a cattle. All of it came from here. The most beautiful one is called Nguni. How can Nguni come from Netherlands? It's Nguni because it comes from here. You found us having cattle and working the land. Stop asking us stupid questions. We know you are challenged, you are fools, but don't expose yourself. This land, we've been working it before Jan van Riebeck arrived here. He found us working it, pushed us to the useless land, and took the most fertile land. We want to return to the fertile land. We want to return in the farms where our great-grandfathers and mothers are buried, because that's where we belong. So fighters, this is the beginning of the struggle of the land. The 6th of April is not only the day they murdered Solomon Mahlangu, it is also the day they arrived here and took our land. After taking the land, when they were commemorating the arrival of Jan van Riebeck on the 6th of April, they killed Solomon Mahlangu. They must be reminded that they killed Solomon Mahlangu. And who sanctioned the killing of Solomon Mahlangu? It was a judge, a white judge, presiding over what is called law. Law is not always just. And if law is not just, it doesn't deserve the respect of our people. It was Solomon Mahlangu was not killed in Flag Plus. He was killed in the cells because a white judge said he must be killed. A judge. He was not sanctioned by hit squad or gangsters. It was a judge from a bench that said Solomon Mahlangu, who fought for our freedom, must be killed on this day. And they must be reminded that they celebrated the killing of Solomon Mahlangu, a soldier of Mkhonto Wesizwe, who was fighting for our freedom. And for Solomon Mahlangu, like all of them, to rest in peace, there must be the return of the land. Solomon Mahlangu, Chris Hani, Winnie Mandela, Steve Biko, A.P. Dan, Collins Majombozi, all of them, Robert Subukwe, They never fought for us to drive blue lights and stay in parliament. They were fighting for the land. They wanted the land. One of the non-negotiable principles of the founding times of the revolution was the question of the land. The reason why political parties were formed in South Africa during the time of colonialism was the demand and of the return of the land. It was not anything else. The rest came as by the way. These things of parliament is by the way. These things of ministry is by the way. That's why they allow you to be ministers. That's why they allow you to be members of parliament. It's because they are the most useless things. Why are they not saying, let's vote on the land and say who must get the land? They will never allow the voting on the land, but they can allow the voting on parliament and all the useless things. Why? They are not affected. They do not care. That parliament means nothing. What is at the center of development and the restoration of the dignity of our people is the strategic means of production. And at the core of such is the land question that will never budge them. If you want to be their enemy, talk about owning banks. If you want to be their enemy, talk about owning insurance companies. This company of Rupert owns everything. It owns ABSA, it owns FNB, Standard Bank. If they don't want you, you will never own a bank. How can the Rupert just own everything? All of us here, when we woke up, all of us without faith, we used a product of the Rupert. Either a toothpaste. When I say toothpaste, I sound sophisticated. Colgate. Or toothbrush. Or a soap. Whatever you want to think of, these ones have got their hand in it. The insurance companies, they are there. The wines, they are there. The luxury goods, they are there. Cheap or expensive, they are there. Even this air we breathe is these people. And if they want, they can contaminate this air and kill all of us. These ones are capable of anything. They even own judges. Rupert used to have a farm. No, he's got a farm in Mpumalanga, a golf estate. When he calls for a golf day there, if you count less than 20 judges who are playing golf on that day, judges, white, Afrikaner, or black, or any kind of a judge you can think of, they are there. So you offend the Ruperts and one day you make a mistake of going to court, you are likely to meet his friend by the bench or who have been waiting for you. They own the law firms. They decide who becomes an advocate, who doesn't become an advocate. They decide who becomes a professional engineer. A lot of our black brothers and sisters go around here saying they are engineers. No, there is a council of engineers that accredit professional engineers. They decide how many blacks get in there. Chartered accountants, they decide how many CAs blacks are going to come in there this year. The only thing they lost control of is the doctors. They used to decide how many blacks are going to become doctors. Now we are beating them because with their Bantu education is no longer the only reliable thing. There is all sorts of platforms for information where we are educating ourselves and go back to them and defeat them in the fields they don't want us. So fighters, we are in a struggle that was started by our forefathers, and we refuse to sell out. The ANC has sold out. Let me tell you, the first meeting of the ANC after the unbanning of the ANC, when they came back from exile, they came here in Stellenbosch to hold the first National Executive Committee meeting in a farm owned by the Ruberts. First day they came, Mandela out of prison, exiles returned, but guys, we need to have our first meeting. It was held in a Rupert's farm. And then how can you say the ANC will not sell out when their first historic meeting was held in the Rupert's farm? The person who led such facilitation and processes is one of our own black brother, Trevor Manuel. He's the one. He has been working with them even before the liberation. So he is part of them. That's why Trevor and them are rich like that, and you can't touch them because they are protected by white monopoly capital. We must know that every time we want to fight white monopoly capital, there will be a black brother who's pulling us back and defending the white monopoly capital, like this fool they came with here on stage. He thinks he's protecting them. He's a bodyguard. Bloody stupid. There are police here. Who needs a bodyguard when there are police here? Police are here to make sure there is peace here. This is a peaceful march. You don't need one of your own trying to pretend like he's a strong bodyguard. He has never been to school of bodyguard. Machingland. These ones, when they see whites, they misbehave. Every time you want to attend to a white person, there is this black who loves his wife more than his own brothers and sisters. They are always there. They've always been there. And Trevor Manuel is such example of such black brothers who will always push for the interest of the white settlers. As we speak now, Twitter is buzzing with colonial clerks criticizing the EFF that, hey, the EFF in their event, they were drinking the wine that belongs to the Rupert. Oh, leave the wine. Colgate, what can we do? It means we must not wash our teeth. Because if you fight the Rupert, don't use their product, what are we going to use? We use their product to fight them. We brush their teeth and come and address them here with their Colgate here. There's no problem. We use their own means to fight them. And we make no apology about that. So fighters, do not be distracted by non-whites who appear like they are like us, but inside they are white. They even regret why their parents are black, because Cyril Ramaphosa, you can see, he wanted to be a white person. Ramaphosa went to school in Soweto, and then he went to Venda, and then he went to Teflo, and then he came to work for the Oppenheimers. Then he opened a union called National Union of Mine Workers. All of a sudden, Ramaphosa has got an accent of white people. From where? Because he never went to white people's school. It's because he wants to be white. He regrets and he blames his parents for the nose. He wanted a different nose that looks like white people's nose. That's what he wanted. That's why he's selling out. He's selling out to the people that he wants to be like them. Ramaphosa likes white people more than black people. We need to ask the question, what did Ramaphosa do for a black man since he became president? in South Africa. What difference did he make in Kayamnandi since he became president of South Africa? He spoke about billions and billions and billions. The only results we got from billions was high unemployment. They are giving our people 350 and they are stealing a lot from that 350. And some of our people are not even getting because they give to their relatives and their own friends. So don't be scared when you see a black brother or a black sister defending them. There will always be that person who's always ready to sell out their own. So do not be discouraged. You must always be encouraged and fight, including fighting the non-whites who want to derail the revolution in defense of white monopoly capital. Fighters, white monopoly capital exists. They monopolize the industries, they monopolize the land. Do not be confused about that. And when we say we are fighting white monopoly capital, it doesn't mean we are Zuma's friends. We are not Zuma's friends. Our founding manifesto dictates that we fight white monopoly capital for the land to be expropriated without compensation. So we are here for that principle. And that is cardinal pillar number one. That's what makes the EFF to be. The EFF number one priority is the land. And you can't go to people who don't own the land. You go to the people who own the land. That's why we are here. That's why we are not in a house of a poor person. That's why we are not chasing poor people. We know where the enemy resides, and we are at the doorstep of the enemy. So let's go and make sure that we build strong EFF. It's only a strong EFF in the Cape One lands that will defeat the white monopoly capital. We need 1 million members by the end of December, so that in 2024, when we unleash and say, let's go, Kubo, the whole country will respond and make sure that the EFF becomes the government of South Africa and hold these ones accountable. We are not scared of them, and we are the only organization that is not scared of Rupert, that has marched Rupert, that holds Rupert accountable. So do not be shaken by people who are scared of Rupert, who are scared of the Oppenheimers. We have not eaten Rupert's money. We will never eat Rupert's money, because the day you eat Rupert's money, you are going to be like the ANC, and you will never talk against them. We are talking here against dominance. We are tired of them dominating the economy of South Africa. We want to share the wealth of South Africa. That's all we are asking for. And anyone who says you can't share the wealth is unreasonable. How are we going to survive without sharing the wealth of the country? So fighters, let's make sure that we agitate and mobilize our people for the return of the land. If you join EFF and you can't explain why you joined EFF, just tell them, I want the land. That's why I joined. I don't want the benefits. We want the land. And once you say, I want the land, you have spoken lots of politics. Because in the land comes a lot of things. So fighters, let's make sure our people buy into the message. Do not be scared, do not be discouraged, do not be intimidated and be told you'll be killed. The highest honor for revolutionaries is prison or death. Do not be scared of the two, because you die a martyr. History will absolve you that these people were killed for standing for what they believe in. And that's why some of us are not scared. because we want to die for what we believe in. And if it is the land that is going to kill us, let the land kill us. We will not be the first ones. We will follow in the footsteps of those who were killed during genocide when they were taking our land by force. So we are not scared because we are inspired by generations before us. And that's why generations that come after us must join in the footsteps of all of you who are here and fight for the return of what rightfully belongs to us. We are not here to steal from anybody. We are here to ask for what was stolen from us. And when we do that, then they declare us criminals and say we are here to steal. We are not here to steal. We are here to claim that which belongs to African people. Fighters, let's go and go door to door, and make sure we get as many members as possible. Each and every house here in Stellenbosch must have a member of the EFF. There shouldn't be a flat or a house or a farm or a factory without members of the EFF. Why? We are preparing for the revolution. And when you prepare for the revolution, you must get as many members as possible. And then once we've got quantity, millions of members, we politically educate them and transfer that quantity into quality. And then we unleash them to go and educate society about what we stand for. So the 1 million member is not just a call. It's a strategic program that is going to strengthen the EFF in the Western Cape, because we want to remove the racist government of the DA, of being led by Magogo, Helen Zille. You can see they are no longer having any leadership left for them. That's why they want to recycle a retired Magogo from old age home to come and lead the DA. It's because they've run out of strategies. Now, nature does not allow a vacuum. The EFF must come in there and take over that space in the Western Cape and all over where the DA is leading. The DA is threatened by the EFF. They don't want anything to do. When they see the EFF, they want it destroyed because they know this party is going to get rid of us. And it will get rid of the ANC because it's a party of the future. We don't exist for now. We're not myopic. We've got a giraffe view. We can see the future. That's why we must wear sunglasses. The future looks bright. And it looks bright for black people. Amanda! Amanda! Comrades, our SG is going to read the memorandum, and then from there, the representatives will sign, and the SG will sign, and then we hand over the memorandum. From here, our chairperson of the region will announce how we are going to go back. But we want to thank you for your discipline, and thank the police for their discipline. We work together nicely. I hope you maintain this discipline even when we are not here. And you don't shoot at gogos when they are marching for water. And enjoy shooting at gogos. So this is a type of cooperation we want. We told the police and the Stellenbosch municipality that we are not here to ask for permission to march. We are here to notify you that we are marching on the 6th of April and see what you can do. But we are marching on the 6th of April because we require no permission. Be clever. The day we come and we're not coming peacefully, they won't even know. But once we send them letters and say we are coming, They must know it's peaceful because we want to deliver the message. Stay on the message. Focus, black men and women. Don't allow them to write an agenda for you. Write your own agenda and lead your own struggle. Amanda!
Thank you very much, President and Commander-in-Chief, for the message. Fighters will take us through the memorandum of demands by the economic freedom fighters on land owned by the Ruperts on the 6th of April 2022. The 6th of April marks a significant day in the history of South Africa's colonization and dispossession of the land in the entire world. South Africa's colonization and the total land dispossession began on the 6th of April when a private corporation, the Dutch East Indian Company, established a colonial settlement in the southernmost part of the African continent called the Cape. The 6th of April is therefore the Land Day because it is on this day when the settlers began brutal process of colonial dispossession and pillaging of our resources. The intergenerational suffering, poverty, hunger and starvation that defines all indigenous African people is a direct consequence of the colonial settlement that began on the 6th of April. The dominance of white people in the ownership and the control of wealth is a direct consequence of the colonial settlement, which essentially refused and continue to refuse to treat indigenous African populations as equal human beings. White wealth in South Africa and many parts of the African continent squarely rests on colonial settlements and land dispossession, which has still not been reversed. Today we stand on these stolen grounds, the lands that were violently and forcefully taken from the populations of indigenous Africans who inhabited them since the dawn of time. Essentially, no other peoples are known to ever lived on these lands except indigenous African people whose descendants continue to constitute a large majority of the modern African population. Yet in 1652, in the name of white supremacy, colonial settlers, who are exclusively white people, began the violent, inhumane, and the brutal conquest of these indigenous populations with the sole purpose of amassing their natural resources. In the process, the colonial settlers employed mass murder tactics, genocide, assassinations, torture, gang rape, slavery, and apartheid to keep the status quo as conquerors. To this day, the billions and massive wealth they own is a direct inheritance of the sustained land dispossession imposed on indigenous African population. The Rupert family, together with the Oppenheimers, are the direct descendants and the successors of the Dutch East Indian Company, the first gang and cash-in-transit criminal company to unleash land dispossession in the Cape. The Ruperts are the face and the first citizens of the larger racist white supremacist project of black exploitation and dispossession. To this day, this very property, like many other properties around the continent, is surrounded by massive populations of black people who live in squalor. The Ruperts, like all white people in South Africa, are direct beneficiaries of colonial settlement and land dispossession that began on the 6th of April 1652. And their wealth rests on the white supremacist ideology that they have embraced as part of the colonial and dispossession project. As a result, the Ruperts have direct and indirect control of almost all spheres of South Africa's economy. Through their holding company, Remgro, the Ruperts own and control the following key resources: vast tracts of land in the Western Cape, Mpumalanga, and Eastern Cape; direct control of wildlife, including the Kruger National Park; banks which include FNB, RMB, West Bank, Green Road, and Discovery Bank; insurance companies such as Discovery, Momentum, and Outsurance; healthcare in the form of Mediclinic; petroleum industry such as Total South Africa; media through ownership of eMedia, ETV, and ENCA, and OpenHD; cigarettes trading through British American Tobacco, BAT; alcohol industry through Distel, which produces Savannah, Hunter's Dry, Amarula, and many other alcohol products. They also own R&R wines and many other wine brands. Food items such as Rainbow Chicken, Selati Sugar, Rooibos, and spreads such as Rama and Stock. Luxury goods through Raynet, which owns Mont Blanc. Port terminals in Richards Bay through Green Road. independent power producers that supply Eskom with electricity. These are just some of the assets owned and controlled by the Ruperts, and there is no doubt that this wealth rests on the colonial settlement and land dispossession that began on the 6th of April 1652. The inhumanity with which this wealth of the Ruperts is sustained rests on the continued landlessness of the African indigenous population. It depends on their continued poverty and exploitation. The economic freedom fighters therefore speaks on behalf of all these generations of the dispossessed African indigenous populations and their descendants. We are the children of the people who originally owned the wealth of the Ruperts. The people whose land the Ruperts have stolen and kept through violence over 300 years. We speak for farm workers who labor in these farms, but get paid in alcohol. We speak on the millions of families who live in spaceless spaces we call townships for lack of land and human settlement. We speak for rural African populations forced into unproductive smallholds in rural South Africa without any prospects of being commercial farmers. We speak on behalf of the rural populations whose cattle is denied grazing lands by the colonial laws like Rupert and his descendants of the Great Trek Gang. We speak on behalf of all Africans who need land for hospitals, schools, sports, arts and business. On this day, on the 6th of April, which marks the anniversary of the arrival of the Dutch East Indian Company on our land, led by the land thieves and gangsters Jan van Riebeeck, we demand equitable distribution of all South Africa's land to the African people. Here in Stellenbosch is a conglomerate of land thieves and properties belong to the Rupert, the richest land thieves of all times. We call on the Rupert to release Africa's people's land which they attained through genocide and massacres and sustained it through colonial and apartheid crimes against humanity. We make the following demands: an immediate disclosure of the amount of property owned by Johan Rupert and how it was acquired historically. The immediate equitable redistribution of all land in private holdings without compensation, particularly the one which is currently under the ownership of Johan Rupert and all his entities. An independent audited report of the tax records of Johan Rupert, public disclosure thereof, and a public disclosure of all offshore accounts and foreign economic interests of Johan Rupert which draw financial basis from South Africa's land, products, and labor. A disclosure of the living, working, and the remuneration conditions of farm workers on the properties of Johan Rupert. A disclosure of the corporate social investment made by Johan Rupert personally and his entities in the South African communities, particularly those surrounding his property. Finally, we call on Johan Rupert to respond to these demands within the next 14 days on behalf of the EFF, and we are giving it to the Ruperts on the 6th of April in Stellenbosch, South Africa. Thank you very much. Right, President.
Can have an opportunity to respond. Knowledge, not respond.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the memorandum. Unfortunately, Mr. Rupert is out of country, and Mr. Durant is not in office. I've been asked to receive this memorandum on behalf of Remgrow, and it will be handed over to the necessary people. So thank you very much.
You can go down.
Amandla, viva EFF, viva, awuloma kubi, siyaya, siyaya, loma kubi, siyaya, siyaya, loma bese tubola. Besishaya, Besibopa, Noma Besetubola, Besishaya, Besibopa, Noma Gubi, Siaya, Siaya. Where were you when I'm shit? Where were you when I'm done? Sofa's kitchen, Eshanti, Sofa's kitchen, Emoye, Ongelaman, Ibagit, Ongelaman, Ibagit, Siltatile, Ilagit, Siltatile, Ilagit, Kichi, Kichi, Kichima, Sibram Kondo, Alliance, shoot to kill, Yamaza, shoot to kill, Kilame, kiss the poor, the farmer, kiss the poor, the farmer, brr, pa, pa, brr, pa, pa, Beijing.
Thank you very much, President. Siyabulela kakhulu ngomkhombandlela. Sizawucela ke ngoku uSecretary we-region azosipha amalungiselelo kusuka apho basihamba njani siphume kanjani apho. Fighter.
This opportunity to thank the CCT members led by the Commander-in-Chief of the fastest growing movement in the organization, the Provincial Command Team and the RCT members. And most of all, let me thank the most imperative people in the organization, which is the ground forces. Ayaye, ground forces, ayaye! Ayaye, ground forces, ayaye! For ensuring this march becomes successful. Fighters' mind is very clear. Let us continue expropriating the land, especially in the places where are close to town. And lastly, fighters, let us ensure that we go to the ground and recruit to make sure that we reach the 1 million membership by December. Amanda! Away, two! Thank you, National Chairperson. All the buses and the taxis must come to this side so that everyone can go back home. Thank you.
Picket.